The massive crystal dome floated high above the red clouds of Ashkari Prime like a jewel suspended in space. Inside the dome, 12 different alien species gathered around a circular table that glowed with soft blue light. This was the Galactic Council, and they had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years. Admiral Jake Morrison sat in his office on Luna Station, looking out at the Earth below. The blue marble turned slowly in space, peaceful and beautiful. He had spent 20 years protecting that world, but today something felt different. His communication panel beeped with an incoming message marked as urgent. The screen flickered to life, showing a tall, thin alien with pale, almost see-through skin. Its eyes were large and silver, and when it spoke, its voice carried the tone of someone talking to a child. "Greetings, primitive beings of the third planet," the alien said. "I am Ambassador Krelthok of the Zephyrian Empire. Your species has recently achieved what you call faster-than-light travel. The Galactic Council has decided to grant you the honor of an audience." Jake leaned forward in his chair. He had heard rumors about the Galactic Council from deep space explorers, but this was the first direct contact. Krelthok continued. "You will send one representative to Ashkari Prime within 1 of your months. There, the Council will explain your place in the Galactic Order. Do not disappoint us with any foolish ideas about equality." The message ended abruptly. Jake stared at the blank screen for a long moment, then pressed the emergency communication button. Within minutes, he was connected to Earth's High Command. "Sir, we just received first contact from something called the Galactic Council," Jake reported to General William Cross. "They want us to send someone to meet with them." "What's your assessment, Morrison?" Cross asked. "It didn't sound like an invitation, sir. More like a summons." 3 days later, Captain Lisa Hayes stood in the hangar bay of Luna Station looking at her ship. The UES Defiance was a light cruiser, built for speed and exploration rather than heavy combat. She had volunteered for this mission because someone had to go, and she was the best pilot Earth had. "Remember, Captain," Admiral Morrison said as they walked toward the ship, "we don't know what we're dealing with out there. These aliens have been traveling between stars since before humans discovered fire." "Be careful," Lisa nodded. "What about Project Thunderstrike?" "Should I mention it?" "Absolutely not," Morrison replied quickly. "That project doesn't exist as far as anyone beyond Earth's inner circle knows. If these aliens are hostile, it might be our only advantage." Lisa had heard whispers about Project Thunderstrike in the corridors of High Command. Something about new weapons and ship designs that could change everything. But she was a pilot, not a scientist, so the details remained a mystery. The journey to Ashkari Prime took 3 weeks. During that time, Lisa studied everything Earth's intelligence services had gathered about the Galactic Council. What she learned made her stomach tight with worry. The Zephyrians were master manipulators who considered themselves the most evolved species in the galaxy. They controlled vast trade networks and had never lost a war. The Krogan Empire was a military machine that conquered planets for fun and profit. They had destroyed entire civilizations that refused to submit to their rule. Then there were the Nexus Collective, a race of machines that viewed biological life as inefficient and messy. They had improved dozens of species by turning them into cyborgs. The remaining 9 council members were equally powerful and equally dangerous. Lisa found records of 23 species that had been contacted by the council in the past century. 15 had submitted immediately and became servants of the council. 5 had tried to negotiate and were conquered within a year. 3 had attempted to fight and were completely destroyed. Their homeworlds turned into asteroid fields. The pattern was clear and terrifying. As the UES Defiance dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the Ashkari system, Lisa got her first look at alien military power. Hundreds of massive ships floated in perfect formation around the planet. Each one was at least 5 times larger than her cruiser. The smallest escort vessel she could see was bigger than Earth's largest battleship. "UES Defiance, you are cleared to dock at Station 7, came a mechanical voice over the communication system. "Do not deviate from the assigned flight path. Any unauthorized movement will result in immediate destruction." Lisa guided her ship through the alien fleet, feeling very small and very alone. The alien vessels were works of art and terror combined. The Zephyrian ships looked like flowing water frozen in metal form. The Krogan dreadnoughts were all angles and weapon ports, designed to intimidate as much as destroy. The Nexus ships were perfect geometric shapes that seemed to bend light around them. Station 7 turned out to be a small docking platform attached to the main council chamber. As Lisa's ship settled onto the platform, she could see the massive crystal dome where the council met. Through the transparent walls, she could see figures moving around a central table. An escort of 6 different aliens met her at the airlock. They were all armed and clearly not there for her protection. Lisa followed them through corridors lined with trophies from conquered worlds. She recognized some human artifacts among them, items taken from the outer colonies that had been attacked in recent months. The council chamber was even more impressive from the inside. Each alien representative sat on a throne designed to showcase their species' power. Ambassador Krelthok gestured for Lisa to stand in the center of the circle. "Humans of Earth," Krelthok announced. "You stand before the Galactic Council, rulers of 10,000 star systems and masters of space itself. We have decided to offer your species a choice." Another council member, this one covered in what looked like living metal, spoke next. "I am General Zaxthor of the Vorthon Republic. We have observed your species for some time. You are aggressive and unpredictable, but you show potential as laborers and soldiers." A third alien, whose voice came from speakers built into its mechanical body, added, "The Nexus Collective calculates a 73% probability that humans can be successfully integrated into our workforce after proper modifications." Krelthok raised a hand for silence. "The choice is simple, human. Your species will become a protectorate of the Council. You will provide tribute in the form of resources, technology, and people. In return, we will allow your homeworld to continue existing." "And if we refuse?" Lisa asked, keeping her voice steady. The council members looked at each other and several began to laugh. It was not a pleasant sound. "Show her," Zaxthor commanded. A holographic display appeared in the center of the chamber, showing space above a blue and green planet. Lisa's blood went cold as she realized she was looking at one of the human colonies in the Centauri system. Massive alien ships hung in orbit like predators circling wounded prey. The display showed the planet's surface being bombarded by energy weapons. Cities disappeared in flashes of light. Within minutes, the entire world was burning. The hologram faded, leaving Lisa staring at empty air. "That colony attempted to resist our authority," Krelthok explained. "As you can see, resistance is not only futile but extremely unwise. You have one of your months to deliver Earth's surrender. We suggest you choose wisely." Lisa Hayes felt the weight of the entire galaxy pressing down on her as she stood in the council chamber. The alien representatives watched her with expressions that ranged from amusement to boredom. To them, she was just another primitive species leader, about to accept the inevitable. "You will transmit our generous offer to your homeworld immediately," Ambassador Krelthok said, his silver eyes gleaming with satisfaction. "We expect a response within 7 of your days." Lisa nodded slowly, buying time to think. "I understand the terms. Earth will need time to consider such an important decision." The mechanical voice of the Nexus representative filled the chamber. "Consideration is unnecessary. Compliance is the only logical choice. Your species lacks the capability to resist." General Zaxthor leaned forward on his throne, his metallic skin reflecting the chamber's blue light. "Perhaps the human needs a more detailed demonstration of our power." He gestured and the holographic display activated again. This time, Lisa saw a massive space battle. Hundreds of alien ships faced off against what looked like another species fleet. The defending ships were sleek and advanced, clearly not primitive by any standard. But as she watched, the alien council's forces tore through them like paper. "The Altarians thought they were clever," Zaxthor explained. "They had energy shields, plasma cannons, and faster-than-light drives. They ruled 12 star systems and considered themselves a major power." The hologram showed the final moments of the battle as the last Altarian ship exploded. "They lasted 18 minutes against our combined fleet." Another council member spoke up. This one looked like a giant insect with multiple eyes and razor-sharp claws. "The hegemony of 6 suns was even more amusing. They sent 50 dreadnoughts to attack our forward base. We destroyed them with a single battle group." Lisa forced herself to remain calm. "How many species belong to the Council?" "Belong?" Krelthok laughed, a sound like wind chimes in a storm. "Child, no one belongs to the Council except the 12 founding races. All others serve. Some serve willingly as protectorates. Others serve as slaves after their governments were removed. A few serve as examples after their worlds were sterilized." The insect-like alien clicked its mandibles together. "Currently, we oversee the activities of 237 species across the galaxy. Some mine our worlds, others build our ships, and a few provide entertainment for our citizens. Entertainment? Lisa asked, though she was afraid of the answer. Gladiatorial combat, the insect replied cheerfully. The Drakmari are particularly good fighters. They last longer in the arena than most species. A floating jellyfish-like creature spoke next, its voice echoing strangely in the chamber. The humans show promise for heavy labor. Your muscle density is adequate, and your reproductive rate suggests a sustainable workforce. Lisa felt sick but kept her expression neutral. And if a species proves useful in other ways? Then they receive better treatment, Krelthok said. The Tellurians developed excellent medical technology before we absorbed them. Now they serve as healers throughout our empire. They live comfortable lives in exchange for their expertise. General Zaxthor brought up another hologram, this one showing a garden world covered in gleaming cities. This is Telluria Prime, beautiful, is it not? The Tellurians govern themselves and enjoy considerable freedom. All they must do is provide medical services when requested, and deliver a yearly tribute of their best young people for our academies. Your best young people? Lisa asked. For education and cultural exchange, the jellyfish creature explained. Though few ever return home, they find life in the core worlds much more appealing than their primitive birth worlds. Lisa was beginning to understand the full scope of the Council's system. It was not just conquest, it was total control disguised as benevolence. Some species were outright enslaved, while others were given the illusion of freedom in exchange for everything that made them unique. Of course, Krelthok continued, some species require more direct management. The Korthani were quite rebellious at first. Another hologram showed a world covered in what looked like prison camps. Now they are much more cooperative. Their mining output has increased by 300% since we implemented proper discipline. The mechanical nexus representative added, biological entities often resist optimization. The Korthani required significant behavioral modification before achieving acceptable productivity levels. Lisa realized they were showing her these examples not just to intimidate her, but because they genuinely believed they were offering Earth a good deal. In their minds, they were giving humanity a choice between comfortable servitude and total destruction. How long do species typically have to decide? Lisa asked. That depends on their strategic value, Zaxthor replied. The hegemony of 6 suns was given 3 days because their worlds contained useful resources. The Altarians received 2 weeks because their technology showed promise. Your species will have 1 month because your planet occupies an interesting position near several important trade routes. And because you are amusing, added the insect alien. Your species has a curious habit of fighting hopeless battles. Our military scientists are interested to see if this trait can be harnessed for our benefit. Krelthok stood up from his throne, signaling that the audience was coming to an end. Return to your ship, human. Transmit our offer to your leaders. We will expect their surrender within 1 month, delivered by you personally. What if I don't return? Lisa asked. The council members exchanged looks that might have been surprised if she could read alien expressions. Finally, Krelthok answered, Then we will assume Earth has chosen destruction. A single battle group will be dispatched to sterilize your system. It will serve as an excellent training exercise for our junior officers. As Lisa was escorted back to her ship, she passed more displays of the Council's power. Entire corridors were lined with artifacts from dead civilizations, weapons that had failed to save their creators, flags from governments that no longer existed, art from cultures that had been erased from history. The escort guards made no effort to hide their contempt. To them, she was already a slave who just did not know it yet. They spoke freely among themselves in languages she did not understand, but their tone made their meaning clear enough. Back aboard the UES Defiance, Lisa sat in her captain's chair and stared at the communication console. She knew she had to send the message, but the words felt like poison in her mouth. How do you tell an entire world that their freedom is over? How do you explain that the choice is between slavery and death? She composed the message carefully, including every detail of what she had seen and heard. The Council's demands, their military power, and the fate of species that had resisted. But as she prepared to send it, she also included something else. A personal note to Admiral Morrison about the alien ship formations she had observed during her approach. They were impressive and intimidating, but they followed predictable patterns. More importantly, they seemed designed more for show than for actual combat against an enemy that might think differently. It was not much hope, but it was something. Lisa pressed the send button and leaned back in her chair. Earth would have to decide its fate, but at least they would make that decision with all the information she could provide. As her ship pulled away from HFY Prime, she looked back at the massive alien fleet and tried to imagine humanity standing against such overwhelming power. It seemed impossible. But then again, humans had never been very good at accepting the impossible. The emergency meeting room deep beneath NORAD hummed with tension as Earth's most important leaders gathered around a massive table. The walls were lined with screens showing military bases, space stations, and defensive positions throughout the solar system. Admiral Jake Morrison stood at the head of the table, waiting for the last officials to arrive. President Susan Martinez entered the room with her security detail, her face grim. She had read Captain Hayes' report 3 times, and each reading made the situation seem more hopeless. Behind her came General William Cross carrying a sealed briefcase that contained Earth's most classified secrets. "Ladies and gentlemen," President Martinez began, "we are here to decide the future of humanity. Captain Hayes has delivered the Alien Council's ultimatum. We have 3 weeks to surrender or face total destruction." Secretary of Defense Robert Kim spoke first. "Madam President, we have to consider the reality of our situation. These aliens have technology we can barely comprehend. They control hundreds of species across the galaxy. Resistance appears to be suicide. Surrender is also suicide," countered Senator Patricia Wells. "Just a slower one. Did you read what they do to the species that submit? They take our children, turn our people into slaves, and strip away everything that makes us human." Admiral Morrison activated the main display, showing video footage from Captain Hayes' meeting with the Council. The captain managed to record parts of her audience with these aliens. Watch their expressions when they talk about destroying civilizations. "To them we are insects." The room fell silent as they watched Krelthok describe the destruction of the Centauri colony. The casual way the aliens discussed genocide made several officials visibly sick. When the recording ended, President Martinez looked around the table. "General Cross, what are our military options?" Cross opened his briefcase and pulled out a datapad. "Madam President, I need to brief you on a project that has been classified at the highest levels. Only 12 people in the entire government know about this." He pressed a button on the pad, and the main screen changed to show technical schematics of ships unlike anything Earth had ever built. They were sleek and angular, about a quarter the size of the alien dreadnoughts they had seen in the Council footage. Project Thunderstrike began 5 years ago, when we recovered alien technology from a crashed ship in the Kuiper Belt, Cross explained. "Our best scientists have been reverse engineering their systems and combining them with human innovations." Dr. Kevin Roberts, the project's lead scientist, stood up. "What we discovered is that the aliens rely heavily on energy shields for protection. Their weapons are powerful but straightforward. We have developed something they have never seen before." The screen showed a detailed cutaway of one of the new ships. These vessels carry quantum disruptor weapons that can collapse energy shields by creating resonance cascades. "Instead of trying to overpower the shields, we make them destroy themselves," Dr. Amy Clark, the project's shield specialist, added. "We also discovered that alien shield technology follows predictable patterns. Once we understood the mathematics, we could design weapons specifically to exploit their weaknesses." President Martinez studied the schematics. "How many of these ships do we have?" "3 operational vessels," Cross replied. "The UES Retribution, UES Vengeance, and UES Justice. We have been training crews in absolute secrecy for the past year." 3 ships against an entire galactic empire?" Secretary Kim asked incredulously. "General, with all respect, this seems like wishful thinking." Commander Rick Taylor, captain of the UES Retribution, spoke up. "Sir, these ships were not designed to fight a conventional battle. They are built for precision strikes using swarm tactics. Think of them as a pack of wolves hunting much larger prey." Captain Helen Brooks of the UES Vengeance nodded. "The alien formations Captain Hayes observed follow standard patterns. They are designed to intimidate and overwhelm through sheer size, but they are not prepared for fast coordinated attacks from smaller vessels." Captain Danny Lee of the UES Justice pulled up tactical displays. "Our computer simulations show that if we can get close enough to their command ships, we can disable their coordination systems. Without central control, their massive fleets become collections of individual targets." Dr. Roberts activated another display showing weapon test footage. "Our quantum disruptors were tested against recovered alien shield generators. The results exceeded our expectations. A single hit from our weapons can cascade through multiple shield layers, leaving even Dreadnought-class vessels vulnerable. President Martinez watched the test footage with growing interest. What are the odds of success? Honestly, Madam President, we do not know, Cross admitted. This technology is completely untested in real combat, but it represents our best hope of proving to the aliens that humanity will not submit quietly. Senator Wells leaned forward. Even if we cannot win, we can show them that conquering Earth will cost them dearly. Maybe that will make them reconsider their approach. Or maybe it will just make them angry, Secretary Kim countered. If we attack them and fail, they might not just destroy Earth. They might make an example of us that will terrify every other species in the galaxy. Admiral Morrison studied the tactical displays. Captain Hayes noted something important in her report. The alien fleet formations are impressive but predictable. They have been the dominant power for so long that they may have become complacent. Dr. Clark brought up comparative analysis charts. Our studies of their technology suggest they have not made significant innovations in centuries. They rely on overwhelming force rather than tactical flexibility. That could be their weakness. President Martinez stood up and walked to the main display. The question before us is simple. Do we surrender and hope for mercy, or do we fight and risk everything? There is a third option, Cross said quietly. We could attempt to negotiate. Captain Hayes could return with a counter-proposal. What could we possibly offer them that they cannot simply take? President Martinez asked. Information, Dr. Roberts suggested. Our technology development has taken a different path than theirs. We might have innovations they would find valuable. That assumes they would honor any agreement, Senator Wells pointed out. Everything we have seen suggests they view other species as tools to be used, not partners to be respected. Commander Taylor stood up. Madam President, my crew has trained for this mission for over a year. We know the risks, but we also know what surrender means. I would rather die fighting for Earth's freedom than live as a slave in an alien empire. Captain Brooks and Captain Lee nodded in agreement. Their crews had volunteered for what everyone knew was likely a suicide mission, but they were willing to make that sacrifice. President Martinez looked around the room at the faces of Earth's leaders. She saw fear, determination, and a desperate hope that somehow humanity could find a way through this crisis. General Cross, how long would you need to prepare for an assault on the Alien Council? The ships are ready now, Madam President. We would need 48 hours to finalize mission parameters and brief the crews on Captain Hayes' intelligence about alien defensive positions. And Captain Hayes? She would need to return to Ashkari Prime to deliver our response, Admiral Morrison replied. Her presence at the council meeting could provide tactical intelligence and serve as a distraction during the initial attack. President Martinez walked back to her chair and sat down heavily. The weight of the decision pressed down on her like a physical force. In her hands lay the fate of every human being who had ever lived. We fight, she said finally. God help us all, but we fight. The crystal dome of the Galactic Council chamber gleamed in the light of Ashkari Prime's twin suns as the alien representatives gathered for what they expected to be Earth's surrender. Ambassador Krelthok adjusted his ceremonial robes, already planning the speech he would give about humanity's wise decision to submit to superior authority. The human vessel has been detected entering the system, reported General Zaxthor, his metallic skin reflecting the chamber's blue glow. Captain Hayes returns alone as expected. No doubt she carries Earth's unconditional surrender. The mechanical voice of the Nexus representative filled the chamber. Probability calculations indicate a 97% chance of immediate compliance. Humans show typical patterns of inferior species when confronted with overwhelming force. Far beyond the alien fleet's detection range, 3 ships dropped out of hyperspace in the outer darkness of the Ashkari system. The UES Retribution, UES Vengeance, and UES Justice hung motionless in space, their hulls black as night and nearly invisible against the starfield. Commander Rick Taylor stood on the bridge of the Retribution, watching the tactical display as it mapped the alien fleet's positions, just like Captain Hayes reported. Same formation, same patrol patterns. They have not changed anything. Captain Helen Brooks's voice came through the communication system from the Vengeance. Confirming visual on target fleet. Count shows 237 vessels of various classes. Primary targets identified and locked. Captain Danny Lee added from the Justice, all systems green. Quantum disruptors charged and ready. AI coordination systems are online and synchronized. The three human ships began their approach, moving slowly and silently through the outer system. Their new stealth technology, another innovation the aliens had never encountered, made them nearly impossible to detect until they chose to reveal themselves. On the council station, Captain Lisa Hayes stood once again in the center of the alien circle, but this time she was not alone in her defiance. Hidden in her uniform was a communication device that would signal the human fleet when the time was right. "Welcome back, primitive human," Krelthok said with obvious satisfaction. "We trust you bring good news from your backward little world." Lisa looked around the circle of alien faces, each one showing the same arrogant confidence. "I bring Earth's response to your generous offer." "Excellent," the insect-like council member clicked. "We have already prepared processing centers for your species. The strongest will be sent to our mining worlds, while the more intelligent will serve in our research facilities. And your young will receive proper education in the core worlds," added the jellyfish creature. "In a few generations, they will be grateful for our guidance." Lisa smiled, and something in her expression made several council members shift uncomfortably. Earth's response is simple. "We reject your authority completely. We will never bow to any species that mistakes cruelty for strength." The chamber erupted in laughter. The sound echoed off the crystal walls like breaking glass. Several council members were wiping tears from their eyes or whatever passed for eyes in their species. "Did she say reject?" Zaxthor asked in amazement. "This tiny species with one world and a handful of primitive ships dares to reject the Galactic Council?" "Perhaps the human needs another demonstration," suggested the Nexus representative. "Calculate optimal punishment scenario for maximum educational value." Krelthok raised his hand for silence. "No need for calculations. Admiral Vexnar, dispatch a battle group to the human system immediately. Reduce their world to ash and scatter the debris as a warning to other species." At that moment, the alien fleet's sensors began screaming warnings. 3 unknown contacts had appeared from nowhere, already inside the defensive perimeter and closing fast on the council station. Admiral Vexnar's voice crackled over the communication system from his flagship. "Council station, we have multiple unidentified vessels moving at impossible speeds. Request permission to engage." "Granted," Zaxthor replied immediately. "Destroy these gnats before they can reach the station." The first Zephyrian ships to respond were a squadron of heavy cruisers, each one 3 times the size of the approaching human vessels. Their energy weapons charged with deadly light as they moved to intercept what they assumed were desperate human scouts. Commander Taylor watched the alien ships approach on his tactical display. "All ships execute attack pattern Alpha. Let them see what human engineering can do." The UES Retribution opened fire first, its quantum disruptors sending streams of energy that seemed to bend space itself. The leading Zephyrian cruiser's shields flared bright blue as they absorbed the initial impact. But then something unexpected happened. The shield matrix began to collapse in cascading waves of failure. Within seconds, the cruiser's shields were gone completely, leaving its hull exposed to follow-up shots. The mighty warship designed to destroy planets exploded in a ball of fire that lit up the space around it. "Impossible," Admiral Vexnar breathed as he watched his ships die. The second cruiser lasted only moments longer before its shields also failed catastrophically. The third tried to retreat but found itself caught in a crossfire between the Vengeance and the Justice. In the council chamber, the alien representatives stared at their displays in shock. Their mighty fleet was being torn apart by 3 small ships that should not have been able to scratch their paint. "How are they doing this?" the insect council member demanded. "Our shields can withstand the full firepower of a hegemony battle fleet." "Their weapons are different," Dr. Amy Clark's voice came through Lisa's hidden communicator. "They are designed specifically to exploit your shield frequencies. Every shot makes your defenses weaker instead of stronger." The Nexus representative's mechanical voice rose in pitch. "Impossible. Our shield technology has proven effective against all known weapon types for millennia." "You have never faced human weapons before," Lisa replied with growing confidence. "We do not try to overpower your shields. We make them destroy themselves." Outside, the battle was expanding as more alien ships joined the fight. The Krogan Empire sent a squadron of their heaviest dreadnoughts, massive vessels bristling with enough firepower to crack a moon. But size meant nothing against weapons that ignored traditional defenses. Captain Brooks guided the Vengeance through the alien formation like a dancer, her ship's AI calculating firing solutions faster than any biological mind could follow. Each shot from her quantum disruptors found its mark, and each hit sent cascading failures through enemy shield systems. The Nexus Collective deployed their automated defense grid, releasing thousands of drone fighters that should have overwhelmed any small force through sheer numbers. But Dr. Kevin Roberts had prepared for this possibility. The human ship's computers began broadcasting override codes, taking control of the alien drones and turning them against their creators. "Our own weapons are attacking us," Admiral Vexnar reported in disbelief. "The humans have somehow corrupted our automated systems." Captain Lee brought the Justice into close range of a massive Krogan dreadnought, dancing around its heavy weapons while his quantum disruptors tore through shield after shield. The alien ship's crew had never faced an enemy that could move so fast and strike so precisely. In the council chamber, panic was beginning to replace arrogance. The displays showed their fleet being systematically destroyed by an enemy they had dismissed as primitive insects. "Deploy the planetary defense grid," Zaxthor ordered desperately. "Use the ancient weapons." Deep beneath Ashkari Prime's surface, weapon systems that had not fired in 1,000 years began to power up. These were the tools that had originally conquered the galaxy, energy cannons capable of destroying entire fleets with a single shot. But humanity had one more surprise waiting for them. The ancient planetary defense cannons of Ashkari Prime rose from hidden chambers deep beneath the planet's surface, like the fingers of sleeping giants awakening. Each weapon was larger than a human battleship and contained enough power to vaporize entire fleets. They had been built by the original conquerors of the galaxy, weapons so terrible that even the current council used them only in the most desperate situations. "Fire all batteries," General Zaxthor commanded, his voice tight with desperation. "Destroy those human ships before they can reach the station." The first cannon fired with a sound like thunder splitting the universe. A beam of pure energy, white-hot and wider than a city block, lanced through space toward the UES Retribution. The weapon contained enough power to burn through the core of a planet, and it moved at the speed of light. Commander Rick Taylor watched the energy beam approach on his tactical display. "All ships, activate emergency shields. Let's see if Dr. Clark's theories work in practice." The Retribution's adaptive shielding system engaged just as the planetary cannon's beam struck. Instead of trying to stop the massive energy discharge, the human shields began to absorb it, channeling the power through quantum converters that Dr. Amy Clark had designed based on recovered alien technology. What happened next shocked every alien in the system. The human ship not only survived the direct hit from a weapon that could destroy dreadnoughts, but its own weapons began to glow, brighter, as the absorbed energy fed back into its quantum disruptors. "Impossible," breathed Admiral Vexnar from his damaged flagship. "No shield system can absorb that much energy." "Human shields do not just block energy," Captain Lisa Hayes explained to the stunned council members. "They eat it and make our weapons stronger." The second planetary cannon fired at the UES Vengeance, and again, the human ship absorbed the massive energy discharge. Captain Helen Brooks felt her ship's power system surge as the alien weapon's energy was converted into fuel for her own weapons. "All ships return fire," Commander Taylor ordered. "Show them what their own energy can do." The three human ships opened fire simultaneously, their quantum disruptors now supercharged with energy stolen from the planetary defense grid. The beams that lanced toward Ashkari Prime were no longer the size of normal starship weapons. They had grown into massive streams of destructive force that rivaled the ancient cannons themselves. The first shot from the Retribution struck the primary defense cannon and turned it into a crater of molten metal. The second shot from the Vengeance destroyed two more cannons in a single blast. The Justice's weapons carved through the planet's defensive installations like a sword through paper. In the council chamber, the alien representatives watched their ultimate weapons being destroyed by the very energy those weapons had fired. The irony was not lost on anyone, but no one was laughing anymore. "How is this possible?" the jellyfish creature wailed. "Those cannons have protected this world for 1,000 years. "Your weapons are powerful," Lisa replied calmly, but they follow the same principles as your ship shields. Once we understand how your energy works, we can turn it against you. Krelthok stood up from his throne, his pale skin now flushed with anger. You cannot defeat the entire Galactic Council with 3 ships. We rule 1,000 worlds and command fleets beyond counting. Maybe, Lisa said, but right now those fleets are not here. And after today, every species in the galaxy will know that the mighty council can be defeated. Outside, the battle had turned into a complete rout. The surviving alien ships were retreating in disorder, their formations broken and their confidence shattered. Admiral Vexnar's flagship was burning from multiple hits, its crew struggling to keep basic systems online. Captain Danny Lee brought the Justice into orbit directly above the Council Station, its weapons trained on the Crystal Dome. Council Station, this is the Earth ship Justice. You will order all remaining ships to stand down immediately, or we will target your command center. The mechanical voice of the Nexus representative filled the chamber with static and disbelief. Our calculations were incorrect. Human military capability was severely underestimated. Requesting immediate recalculation of threat assessment. Your calculations were fine. Dr. Kevin Roberts' voice came through Lisa's communicator. You just made the mistake of thinking that bigger always means better. Sometimes the smallest wolf leads the pack. General Zaxthor slammed his fist against his throne. This is not over. We have reserve fleets throughout the galaxy. When they arrive, your 3 ships will be overwhelmed. Will they? Lisa asked. Because I noticed that your communication arrays were among the first things we destroyed. How exactly are you going to call for help? The alien council members looked at their status displays and realized with growing horror that their orbital communication satellites had indeed been eliminated in the first minutes of the battle. The human ships had not just attacked randomly, they had systematically cut off Ashkari Prime from the rest of the galaxy. Moreover, Lisa continued, every species you control just watched 3 human ships destroy your most powerful fleet. How many of them do you think will rush to help you now? The Insect Council members' mandibles clicked nervously. The subject species would not dare rebel. They know the consequences of disobedience. Do they? Commander Taylor's voice came through the communicator. Because we are broadcasting this entire battle on all frequencies. Every world in the galaxy is watching the mighty Galactic Council run away from 3 human ships. Indeed, across the galaxy, subjugated species were watching the impossible happen. On Telluria Prime, the enslaved medical researchers stopped their work to stare at screens showing alien dreadnoughts exploding under human fire. On the prison world of Korthak, miners looked up from their forced labor to see their oppressors fleeing in terror. In the council chamber, the representatives huddled together like scared children. For the first time in their lives, they were not the strongest force in the room. The humans standing before them represented something they had never encountered. A species that refused to bow and had the power to back up their defiance. What do you want? Krelthok asked finally, his arrogant tone replaced by something approaching respect. Earth wants to be left alone, Lisa replied. We want trade agreements based on mutual benefit, not tribute demands backed by threats. We want the right to explore space without your permission and to defend ourselves without your interference. And if we refuse? The jellyfish creature asked. Lisa smiled, and this time her expression was genuinely dangerous. Then we keep fighting, and every battle will be broadcast to every species you control. How long do you think your empire will last when everyone knows you can be beaten? The council members exchanged glances, each one calculating the political implications of their defeat. If word spread that humans could destroy council fleets, how many subject species would begin to rebel? How many would demand their own independence? We could negotiate, Zaxthor said carefully. Perhaps arrange a mutual defense agreement between equals. Equals, Lisa repeated, savoring the word. Yes, I think Earth would be interested in discussing an agreement between equals. 6 months later, Captain Lisa Hayes stood on the observation deck of the new human embassy on Kepler Station watching. Ships from dozens of species arrived for the signing of the Galactic Equality Accords. The Council had agreed to recognize not just human independence, but the right of all species to determine their own fate. The 3 human warships hung in orbit above the station, their presence a constant reminder that the age of unopposed alien dominance was over. Other species had begun requesting human military advisors, eager to learn the secrets of defeating Council technology. Lisa smiled as she watched a group of young Tellurian delegates boarding a transport back to their homeworld, the first of their people to return home in decades. The Korthani had declared independence the day after the battle, and 3 other species had followed suit within the week. Earth had not just won its freedom, it had sparked a revolution that was reshaping the entire galaxy. The species that had once mocked humanity now spoke of them with respect and more than a little fear. The smallest wolf had indeed learned to lead the pack.